Hi everyone, this is CTR Schneider. In this lecture, we are going to continue our lesson about SQL or SQL queries. In this particular lecture, we are going to take a look at the use of like in the where statement and how to use a wildcard. And I am also going to talk about using the clause between in the where statement. Okay, so the first thing that we want to look at is using like and combined it with the wildcard search in the where statement to search for something less specific. So the wildcard is designated by the percentage sign. So the syntax for using like and wildcard is, of course, you will have the select statement. So you will do select and specify what you want to retrieve from your database. And the table that you will be using, the search criteria that you want to specify for your particular query. So let's take a look at the application of like and wildcard in SQL query. To illustrate the like and wildcard search in a query, I'm going to use the table employee. So from table employee, I want to pull the employee first name and employee last name. And then in the where statement, I want my employee first name, I want to pull employee first name where the first name begins with the letter A, and I don't care what other letters follow the letter A as long as the first name begins with the letter A. So if I execute that, you will see that now I have all employees whose first name begins with the letter A. And if I go with B, if I go with B and execute that, and I will have everybody whose first name begins with the letter B. And so you can, of course, you can combine this with other search criteria. For example, you can say where employee first name like begins with the letter B, and then I can also type in and employee last name begins with the letter B also, like that. And if I run that, I will have Barbara Brixton only. And the reason why is because the other person's last name, although the first name begins with the letter B, the last name wasn't. So I'm going to copy this one and run this at the same time. So notice here the first query is for all employees whose first name begins with the letter B, and the second query is for an employee whose first name begins with the letter B and the last name also begins with the letter B. Okay, so if I run both queries, see, I'm not selecting any of these queries. So basically I'm running both queries at the same time. And as you can see here, the first one brings two people because the first name begins with the letter B, which matches that criteria. But the second one brings only Barbara Brixton, whose last name and first name begin with the letter B. So it matches these two criteria. All right. So the position of the wildcard, which is this is the wildcard, this character. also determines the results that you will be getting. Let's say I place the wildcard at the beginning. So I basically tell the system to pull everybody whose first name contains a letter B, regardless of where that B is. And let's see if we have anybody. Oh, wow, yeah. So, okay, we have Abby, and obviously Abby's name is spelled with the letter B in the middle, and also Barbara and Blair, although Blair, the B letter is at the very beginning, or at the it's the first character in the name. It will still pull this result because according to this specification, it really doesn't matter what the letter B is positioned in the name string. We call it a string when you have many characters together. And in Jacob, the B is the last character in the name, but it still matches these specific criteria. So, depending on what you want to pull in your result, you will decide on the placement of your wildcard. Another thing that you can do is to basically give the system more choices or make this query less restrictive. If I specify my letters for the system to search for in a bracket. So let's say I have AJM. Then I close that, and then I would put my wild card right after that. So basically what I'm telling the system is that if the employee first name has or begins with the letter A, J, or M, please pull that display that result. So if I run this query, as you can see, everybody whose name begins with A, J, or M will be included in the result. So you have all the A's up here, and then all the J's and all the M. And let's say I change this to a B and run it again. And of course you will have the B, the J, and the M. So not only can you specify just one search criteria, but also perhaps you want to have a broader results by specifying the options that you want to for the system to consider or to evaluate by placing those search criteria in a bracket followed by the wildcard sign. Now let's continue with the where statement containing the search criteria between and and. So the use of between and and is to select or to specify a range of value. So for instance, and the syntax is in the where statement, you will put the field that you want the system to evaluate, and then you would use between and. In this case, I'm using dates, and date has to be enclosed in the single quote. Then of course you can also do that for a integer type data integer data type. So for integer, you don't have to place them in single quotes like we did when we do dates. So let's take a look how we can implement this type of queries in SQL Server. So here I have my queries. Basically, it is going to pull data from the course table. So if you look in the course table, the fields available in the course table is are all these fields, but I only want course title and course fee. So these two tables are my interest for this particular SQL query. And I want to specify course fee between 2,000 and 5,000. Basically, I want to see a list of courses that meets the criteria of my my where statement here, which is 2,000 and 5,000. And if I run this query, so I will have all the courses that meets the criteria. Let's see another example how we can use the between and end search criteria in the where statement. So here I am looking at the class table. So if I go to my class, and these are the columns that I can pull from the class table. And obviously I'm only interested in showing the room. I want to see what rooms were assigned to courses, or what rooms were courses held in for the date between 1/1/2014 and to 12/31/2014. So basically all the rooms that were used for classes in the year of 2014. So if I run my query, it will show me all the rooms that were used for classes. Okay, so if let's say I want the time, the exact time when those courses were held, I can put in begin date, because obviously I have begin date as one of those fields that I can see in the class table, and end date. Alright, so now I am going to execute that, and it's going to tell me that room 312A was used in November 6, 2014 and until November 7, 2014. So that's how you would interpret the result.